everybody to the October session of Kanban, and we have a guest speaker today who is coming to us all the way from Chile in Latin America, based in Peru. He's one of the leading voices of Agile and Kanban in Latin America. So we're really happy to have him here. But I will let Alexi do the proper introduction, and then he will lead us into the conversation. So Alexi, off to you.
Yes, thank you, Fernando. Ivan and I met 12 years ago. We go back a really long time. We were in the same cohort of David Anderson's masterclass that was at the time kind of the primary vehicle for kind of creating leaders of Kanban method, champions of Kanban method in their respective parts of the world. And ever since then, and Ivan and I met many times later at various classes, conferences, and so on, community events. Ivan made the choice back then to be the champion of Kanban in Peru, and then by extension, pretty much the entire South American continent. And 12 years later, he is still at it. He decided to be for the long haul, and that long haul actually happened, and it still continues. Folks, welcome everyone. Everyone, please welcome Iván Gonzales, one of the greatest ambassadors and champions of Kanban in South America. We're very fortunate to have him. I'm saying this on behalf of the global Kanban community.
All right, thank you, Alexi. And Ivan, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you very much for your words, Alexei and Fernando. And I'm really excited to be here. My English is not the best, but I'm going to try to talk about this. I love metaphors. I really love metaphors all my life. I found metaphors to communicate very complex things. So what are you going to listen today is related to that, metaphors. You are going to listen about flow laws. Flow laws is a metaphor. It's not exactly as a very new thing or a very big discovery. It's a way to communicate in a easier way many complex things. Okay, let's start. The laws of flow, what all agilists must know. It is related to Kanban Maturity Model. I defined these flow laws before Kanban Maturity Model, and probably a little before Kanban, but it's not really the case. I found it very useful when I talk about Kanban Maturity Model, just as a metaphor. First, growing up is not easy. My son, when he was 6, told me, "Dad, I don't want to grow up. I want to be little forever." That broke my heart. Yes, but I start talking to him that he is going to grow up. It is a must. Just you're going to grow up. I'm sorry. I try to explain him in a very, very boring way. And he at least he say, "Okay, I understand now. I'm going to grow up. Don't worry." Okay. That was not the only moment with him. In 2021, he told me something like, "Father, I don't want to study anything because I want to get free." And I started explaining him that he must study to be free. Obviously, I was not prepared to talk with him about that. And again, I repeat some boring things probably because when he saw me trying to explaining him that, at least he say, "Okay, that I understand now." I need to study to be a free person, a free man. Okay. But it's not easy. It's not easy to accept that there are constraints in this world. Yes, when we born, we have a constraint. We are not going to live forever. That is one of the constraints. And accepting those things is growing up. We are not clones. So each person will be mature in their own way. The same happens with companies. We can't copy and paste a model for every company. We can't. Okay, we are maturing. All people that is present in this meeting are making a lot of efforts to achieve organization agility. Are we maturity? Yes. Well, I'm going to ask you, what do you think about that? Organizations that where you are working in are more robust and flexible, or more fragile and rigid? Please, can you answer me in the chat box? What do you think? Your organizations are more robust and flexible, or more fragile and rigid? What do you think? After of all the efforts that you are doing, oh, Martin, fragile, alone, bots, interesting. I expect to read something like more robust and flexible, more robust and flexible. Hey, fantastic. Thank you, Alexei. Fantastic. Okay. Thank you, Andre. Organizations have a hard time to learn from mistakes and failures. Well, yes, but the path is going in one direction, being more robust and flexible, isn't it, Andre? Isn't it? Is that path?
It's the intention versus the reality.
Intention versus reality. Let's talk about this. In all my years of experience, I was searching for something that is not a victim of this. It depends. When I tell somebody about, for example, limited laws, it's amazing that there are some guys who say something like, "It depends. We have created a better law than Little's law," and I was really I was really annoying about what I was listening, but that is the grade of nonsense that I found in many places in this side of the world. But I was looking for something that I can call those things. These things are like gravity laws. You can't say depends. You can say it depends. I was searching for that, and I found the laws of flow management. I already tell you that these laws are just a metaphor. I never tell that for people who listen to me. I just tell them that these are the laws of flow, and you must follow them if you want to be robust and flexible. These laws, they are like Newton's law of gravitation. You can't escape from them. You must be aligned to them if you want to achieve a robust and flexible organization at the same time. Sorry for the geek thing. You must be aligned with them, but you must be careful. It's like a sport. I am not going to be able to run a 42K marathon. I can't, because I don't make exercise. I have no resistance. My muscles are really in a very bad situation. So I can't do that. At the 3rd kilometer, I am going to be in an ambulance. So warning, don't skip directly to low 3. Organizations are not prepared for it. First, develop organization muscle with applying law 1 and 2. Okay, let's start with the first law. The first law is a must. Yes, it's a must to protect people, teams from being overloaded. Implement a pull system. That is a must. You can't say it depends, eh? You can't say that. Let's ask you. Yes, let's ask you this. What are the effects of breaking this first law? Please write in the chat box. What are the effects of breaking this first law? Let's start this. What are the effects of breaking this first law? What happens when the team is overloaded? What are the effects? Burnout. What else? Thanks, leader. What else? Nothing more? Resignation? What are the effects? Now, let's go. Cutting corners to achieve goals. Oh, thank you, Andre. Missed and unpredictable delivery. Stress, blame agile. Well, I'm going to push system overburdening, burn out, the staff turnover, longer life cycle time, and happy customer and happy employers. Look at this. If you have a team overloaded, you're going to cut quality. So you are going to have more defects, poor quality, technical depth, incidents in production. You are going to go home very late. That's switching. This is going to, I'm going to expand this part of task switching. I'm going to talk about Scrum.org. Yes, Scrum.org publish many things related to multitasking, and that was amazing for me because now I can talk with Scrum people that they should limit work in progress. And now I changed my speech, and then I told them that it is a must. You must limit your work in progress because that is what Scrum.org says. Yes, you know this slide. This is from Gerald Weinberg, isn't it? When you are working in 3 things at the same time, you are losing the 40% of your time. You're going to lose that. What else? Frustration. People is going to burn out. Yes, probably they are going to put post-its with a happy face, but inside of them, they are not happy. They are not happy. If this situation is permanent, your organization is fragile. Let's go for the second law. It is essential to create an end-to-end value flow. It must be a continuous flow, valuable for customers, and delivered frequently. These are 3 attributes of this end-to-end value flow. You can see in this diagram that there are many organizational units. I call in that way these small circles, organizational units connected to deliver something. And there are some of those organizational units in black color that are just internal services, shared services. Well, I'm sorry for this word. I know that it doesn't too strong in English language. It is mandatory. I'm sorry, it is essential, is better. Everything you read in business agility is associated with this law and much more, obviously. No manager will be against this law. And if this happens, You have an entire business agility body of knowledge to help them to understand it. In this time, we don't need only talk about Kanban. We need to talk whatever is needed to persuade leaders to go in this way. So we can go in business agility content just to persuade leaders to being aligned to this law. Okay, what are the effects of breaking the second law? Please, it's your moment. Can you write in the chat box what are the effects breaking this second law? Values trigger subjects without internal alignment. Interesting. Waste. What else? Long waits. Yes. Clients walking away. Yes, Fernando. Customers. That's building wrong things. Let's see what I wrote about that. To paraphrase Deming, this second law is optional, but so is improvement to meet customers fit for purpose criteria. Oh my God, stuff peeling up in between blue circles. Okay, look at this. Accumulate invisible work. Everybody have no idea about which is the destination of the work that they send to another organization unit. They have no idea. Silo culture, weak coordination, weak communication, delays on the delivery, spirit value, and at the end, unhappy customer. If this situation is permanent, your company will lose customers. As a result, your company is fragile. So now we have two conditions of fragility. Having overloaded teams and breaking the end-to-end value flow, both make you a fragile organization, make you be fragile. Now, how do you feel? More robust and flexible, or more fragile and rigid? When I present this for in another in other circles, in agile places, for example, usually they start feeling a little bad because they are breaking both laws. They are breaking both laws. In I don't know, in probably in 90% of agile implementations, they are breaking those two laws. And when I ask them, how do you feel now, more robust and flexible or more fragile and rigid? Then I tell them, stop, don't answer me, please, because it depends of how you see the situation. I prefer your answer as more robust and flexible at the start of the speech. And now I need to invite you to see to see the glass half full. Let's work to complete it. Yeah? Let's work to complete it. Don't complicate your life. Don't say, oh, I am wrong. Don't worry about that. Just make efforts to align your company to the first and second law. And no problem, be creative. It is easier. It is easier. Now, a difficult question. A company that breaks the first two laws can make money. What do you think? Please write in the chat box. What do you think? A company that breaks the first two laws can make money. Yes, that's a good question. That's a good answer, Martin. Somehow, but yes, they can make money because probably because all the competitors are in the same way. Yes, if all companies are breaking this these first two laws, then the market is going to be really fragile. And that is that's the real problem, the fragility of them. The company will be still fragile, and that is the problem. Let's look at heads. You and I need to help companies to be more robust and flexible. Let's align them to these flow laws. It's not going to be difficult. It just requires a little bit of creativity. We will only get to the third law. I have 6 laws, 6 flow laws. But because probably the speech the talk will be too long, I am going just to talk now. I am going only to the third law. This is the third law. It is essential to understand that the capacity of a value flow is limited. Those guys who are present here, who know already Kanban Maturity Model, probably at this moment can relate each law with the the same number of the level of maturity. This third law is related to the level 3 of Kanban Maturity Model, because when we accept that our capacity is limited, we can have a happy customer, because we are not going to offer more than our capacity. That is a very important condition to get level 3 of maturity. We are not going to sell more than our capacity. Then all of customers will be happy. Well, what are the effects of breaking this third law? Is all that we talked before. If we have no idea about our capacity, we are fragile. We will have satisfied a customer only if we offer our capacity and no more. Warnings: organizations are not ready to accept law number 3. Yes, they are not ready. So first help your organization to be aligned with law 1 and 2, and a few months after that, you can start talking about the third law. And there is an exception. Yes, there is an exception. In Colombia, I am working now with a company, and we started with the third law. Why? Because in this case, the company was in a really big problem, and we need a very high impact in just a few weeks. And obviously, when you need to help them, you can start with the third law, but in where can we start with applying this third law? In the constraint. So we just in a meeting, I discovered which was the bottleneck, and we apply this pull system in the constraint, and the message was this: the capacity of the constraint is limited, so we need to protect the capacity. We need to put a pull system inside to recover real capacity. And 3 weeks after that, it was amazing, because the throughput was increased by 3 times. And all of them, the president, the vice president, in the top level of the organization, yes, they were impressed with this outcome, because remember, that was the constraint. That was the constraint, and it was a very difficult situation. We couldn't wait for an evolutionary way in that case. So we did this in the constraint. That is deception. I don't recommend to go directly to deception, because it's amazing. But if you make an effort in the constraint, there are many. How to say this? There are many conflicts between leaders inside the company that start being more difficult to manage. But at the end, you start talking about metrics, and they start just stopping this really strange behavior or bad behavior related to being in conflict, just because it's better to them not work by numbers, not work by evidence. But when we start talking about evidence, at the end they are going to stop fighting. They stop fighting, but it took a little longer, 6 months. It took 6 months. But well, now they are in a better way than before. Now, this is a Kanban maturity model. You know that there are 7 levels of maturity, and this is the relationship with the laws, the flow laws. The first law, you can apply it in level 0 and level 1. Level 2 is related to second level of maturity, and level 3 is related to the third. Yes, there are 3 more laws: the 4th, the 5th, and the 6th. I'm going to talk about just the 4th. Okay, the 4th says this: at long term, you can have all customers happy. At long term, you can have all customers happy. So you should choose which segments are you work with and which segment are you not work with. As an example, I can tell something like, for example, Aerolíneas Argentinas. One of their flights was from Buenos Aires to La Habana, Buenos Aires, you know, Cuba, and they were losing 500,000 per year, and now they stopped doing that. Why? Easier, isn't it? At long term, you can have happy all customers. Please start segmenting your customer. What else? You can download this PDF of Kanban Maturity Model in Kanban Plus. Now we are going to talk about how to apply these laws, and are going to be related to Kanban Maturity Model. So at maturity level 0, we need to protect the individual of being overloaded. So individually, you can choose to put a personal Kanban board. It's easier to understand. Oh, sorry, there was some comments in the chat. I'm sorry, I couldn't read them now. I'm sorry.
It's all right. So far, there are no questions.
Okay. Let's continue then. You can see this is a team. This is level 1 of maturity. So it's a must to protect people. In this case, it's a must to protect team from being overloaded. Implement a pull system. In this case, I show 7 people who work together in a team. In this pink area, we're going to put a limit of 4, only 4 stories. Okay? We need healthy organizations, units. This pink one, is going to be protected by a limit of 4. We will need to define a work in progress limit to avoid overloading the team. The limit creates a collaborative context. What else? In my customers, I implement this meeting. It's not exactly defined in this Kanban maturity model, but it's related to a dynamic prioritization meeting. Is a weekly meeting when they talk about the order of customer requests in this next column. Every Tuesday in this company from Colombia, They join together, our customers, and decide which are going to be next. But they are not. This is not exactly a replenishment meeting. This is just a prioritization meeting. They don't need to order all the backlog, just the next ones. Okay. What else? It is recommended that dynamic prioritization meeting is done at least once per week. If the context is too complex, you can have it frequently. What else? Okay, this is a sprint backlog. I changed the name of this next column to sprint backlog because you can work with the Scrum and you can put inside a pull system, and there is no problem. There is no problem. What else? Okay, replenishment meeting is the act of pulling a customer request to the limited area, to the pink area, because there is capacity. Okay? In this case, the customer request 2 ends, so now they can pull a new ticket, and this is a replenishment moment. See, so the replenishment in this example is on demand. What else? It's interesting that I was talking with a friend, Antonio Gallardo, who worked in TowWorks, and in that company, there is a guy who signed the manifesto, whose name is, what happened with my mind? Sorry.
Fowler.
Sorry?
Martin Fowler.
Yes, thank you very much, Martin Fowler. And he talked to new guys in TowWorks because he was thinking on retirement about this moment of signing the manifesto. And in that moment, all people that was there, all of them were software people, software developer people, or probably in a technical role. And what they want to do really in that moment was to declare some guidelines to guide people from software. So the first draft was something like this. They say something like, we value more work collaborative in pairs more than work in procedures. But they changed it because it was to alignment to stream programming scene. We value interaction between people over process and tools. And you can see agile teams, they are not working in pairs. Each one is working alone. So here, for example, in Chile, in Peru, in Colombia, they are working alone. Nobody is collaborating. So I talk about this because I try to be closer to their agile identity. And I reveal I show this Martin Fowler scene, and they say, oh, it's interesting. And they start listening me more when I talk about that. So in this case, I put 4, just because I want a very agile team. I want to see a high collaboration team. Yeah? What else? This is my architecture representation of a pull system that I am doing recently. I have here I have the team A. I have here the customers in the left, dynamic prioritization meeting, replenishment on demand, and some organizational units, H, J, and K, okay, just as dependencies. What else? Okay. When I talk this to agile people, I tell them, please type in Google multitasking sites, scrum.org, and you can find something like this. Agile Coach Toolkits number 8, limiting work in progress. So then I start telling them that, okay, you know that if you limit your work in progress, you can continue call what are you doing Scrum. Don't worry. Just using this searching. Oh, you know that. Does the amount of working hours define the productivity of a team? And you know that no. The answer is no. You know that the productivity depends of the way of working. If you are working in multitasking way, you are going to lose a lot of money and you are going not to be productive. So please limit your work in progress. That is the message in this slide. What else? In this example, two swim lanes have been created. Okay, new features, maintenance. What else? It's necessary to visualize all the work to protect the team from falling into overloads. Okay? What about the daily meeting? There is a question that I usually suggest for agile people or for whatever. Four things. How can we collaborate today too? That happened to me in 2006 when I started working with Scrum, but it was incredible that I was working in Scrum in a Kanban way because I have at that moment my team was of seven people and in my limit was 5 user stories. So 2 of them were helping others, and that was a really amazing experience in 2006 and 2007. And the question every day was, how can we collaborate today? Too, this question was better to us in that moment. What else? While we all know that the daily meeting allows us to organize ourselves, it's better to call to collaboration as one of the main parts of the heart of agile every day. Yes, I tell people from agile movement that it's better to talk about the heart of agile every day, just asking in this way, and they should start doing this in this part of the world. What else? Establish a minimum necessary agreements policies, isn't it? What minimum agreements will help us with the flow? What else? Policies are established step by step. Policies are agreements between teams members. We can't work without them. You know that. These policies are not written in stone. You must be must be reviewed and improved from time to time. What else? Okay, this is a recommendation. I'm sorry, but I usually say this in my speech in this part of the world. Please define demolition impediments policy. It is strictly forbidden to delegate the obstacle removal only to Scrum Masters. I know very good Scrum Masters. They are coaches. Some of them don't know about technical things, and please join them to visit the team that you depend on. Visit with them, being with them. So because a blocked team belongs to the team. What else? How do we improve? Okay, retrospective. But with some metrics. We can improve if we are not going to use metrics. We can improve. And what is this? I'm sorry, but this graph is not translated. I put it at the end. This is a network of organizational units. You can see that. Here we have developers teams A, B, C, and D, and these circles in blue, they are customers, internal customers, and they ask for features to teams A, B, and C, and D, and these teams needs help from green organization units and orange organizational units to deliver. Why I put this here? Because the end-to-end value flow is going to be showed in a Kanban board, but only for those organizational units that are that have a face-to-face with the customer. But the others, as the green ones and orange ones, just need a Kanban board, a team Kanban board, okay? They don't need an end-to-end value flow Kanban board. But A, B, C, and D, yes, they need it. So this is going to be, for example, for A. For A is going to be something like this. Okay? The pink area is the team, but we need to add some other columns to reflect the end-to-end in the discovery parts and in the delivery parts. Okay? We need to do that. What else? And this is the architectural representation of this. You can see here the same. We have one team that is customer face. You know, here we have the customers in blue that are help desk, business unit X, business unit I, business unit C, and we have some organization units that we depend on, and there is quality assurance and an infrastructure team. We can call it DevOps in Peru, Chile. And this is an example. You can see here one Scrum board that have some columns related to the end-to-end. And that was really useful for them, really useful for them. This team was 7 persons, and they were working with a limit of 3 user stories. 3, yes, 3 user stories. Really high collaboration. It was my first Scrum experience without stop using sprints. Yeah, we can work with the Scrum and with this pull system, and there's no problem. And we add these 3 columns to reflect the end-to-ends. And this is another example. You can see the red line here, and you can see this black line here. This is the start of committing of this team, and this is the end. The black line is the end of the team. And they add 2 columns to represent quality and infrastructure. And who moved the tickets in these columns? The team. I asked Arturo, how do you maintain this board updated? And he told me, oh, I am using high technology, Ivan. Oh yes, which technology? This. And he showed me your cell phone. I called them and I asked them about my tickets, and I update that in my Kanban board, and I took the metrics, and they know every of those things. Every of those. Oh, they have the metrics. They have the delay here. They have exactly what happened in the end-to-end, and that was usable for him for many years, from 2017 until now. He's using this. Now, not in a wall. Now they are using they are using Jira. What else? Well, let's look at this. Here I put this time on the team. You can call it cycle time. No, don't worry. You can call it that way. But I recommend that you can define the name you are going to use this time in your company. And this blue one is the time in the end-to-end flow. And you can define the name of that time. Probably lead time is going to be the time when the tickets, the item, start being in the backlog. And the end is going to be when it is deployed. Don't worry, do that. Usually, my customers have lead time metric. The other one is cycle time done, the red one. And the third one is cycle time release, the blue one. The cycle time release is the one that we have in our hands. The lead time, that is when the ticket started in the backlog, it depends. It depends if you are in level 1, level 2, it is going to be real for customers. But when you start working in level 3 of maturity, your blue one is going to be your customer lead time. That happened with Arturo. Arturo was having a problem with quality departments. So what did he do? Well, he called all the other departments and start talking about this in a meeting workflow. See, in a workflow meeting. Sorry, it was not a good translation. But the workflow meeting is starting being implemented in that company in 2017, and they did that and they removed those delays. How do we help each other to overcome these impediments? And they do it. What else? A replenishment meeting. What do we start? In this case, we are starting these 2 customer requests. What else? We need to define a minimum agreements to make the flow easier. And these are those policies. Okay. What else? We can see the aging of the items. We can see class of services. What else? We can starting using a flow review just to understand better what happened and which is the amount of time that we spend in each column, each stage. How are we in terms of customer impact and how healthy are we? In this case, I am using in my customers, I am using the 2 sides of the coin of metrics. One side if outcomes or results, and the other is operation healthy. For example, in operation healthy, I tell them that they must show and slide with the work in progress evolution month by month. And what else? I need that they should show the quality, a quality metric. For example, the classic of how can I say this? This is the demand that was created by us is I'm sorry. This is the demand by make the demand that was created by us is because we make many mistakes. Okay.
You're trying to failure demand.
Yes. So sorry, can you repeat this? That word?
Failure demand.
Failure demand. Yes.
The demand that is placed on us because previous work wasn't as perfect as it should be.
Yeah. Yes. That is the correct word. Failure demand is that we need to measure that, and that is a quality metric, very important. And I explain people that that is the first metric that we needed to measure as a healthy operational requirement, because I knew some Scrum teams that was focused on only velocity, and it was incredible. But they were creating a lot of problems because the quality was really bad, and that is not a Scrum problem. Oh, sorry, this is an Spanish expression. Ojo, be careful. I am not saying that Scrum is bad. I am saying that in that Scrum implementation, they were not doing a measure about quality, and they were creating a lot of crap, really. And they start working with Kanban teams to correct those problems, those issues. And they create one team of 10 people to correct all those issues, then the second team of 10 people, then the third team of 10 people. And that was not good, just because they need to introduce a quality metric to stop doing that really bad work. And the same happened in one Kanban team who showed me we carried the lead time by the half. Oh my God, it was amazing. And what about your customers? My customers. Then I discovered that the customers hate them. So what happened here? They just cut the items by the half. So they start delivering the half of every item. So the value was not completed. And so the customers were really unhappy. So they need to measure the quality first, because if they don't do that, probably we're going to have really unhappy customers, and vanity metrics. The lead time is going to be a vanity metrics if we don't measure the quality. The velocity is going to be a vanity metric if we don't measure the quality. So now we need to measure healthy. How healthy are we? And quality is one of those metrics. Work in progress. This blue line of time in end-to-end flow, this blue line that I call a cycle time release. This time is a very important metric to know if your operational health is good. And there are other ones, claro, of course, there is aging, and there is, for example, flow efficiency, and others. We need to measure both sides of the coin. And the outcome side of the coin, at the first, you shouldn't question those metrics. I suggest that you should start as you are. So there is no problem whatever they are measuring at this moment. We are going to influence on those metrics, on those outcome metrics, step by step. And the best level to start questioning this outcome or these result metrics is in level 3. Or transitioning from level 2 to level 3, we can start questioning these metrics. Are they showing, are those metrics, those outcome metrics, showing us how do we impact customers? It is going to be the question. Oh, what happened? This okay. This slide was hidden, but it escapes. Don't worry. Okay, how to reach to level 2? In this talk, I am going to end with these slides. How to reach in level 2? We start with as we are, as Alexei Seglov tell us at the start of this meeting, and make sure to focus on these 3 elements. This is a suggestion. 3 elements: value, flow, visualization, end-to-end, in customer-face service. Okay, start with customer-face services is one of the strategies. There is another strategy I talk about that you can start with customer with shared services too. but it will be a little difficult. It depends of the company. We can start working with the constraints. That will be a very interesting way of working. But okay, it depends of your company. Usually in Kanban, we talk about start with a customer face service. Okay, so you can if you start in that way, you can follow these three elements. It will help us know where are we standing and gradually develop our maturity level. 2, create value flow feedback loops. Without feedback, we will not improve. Yes, there is a lot to say about feedback loops. And I discovered one of them that was really, really amazing. That is the operations review. Here in Chile, there are 2 companies that are working with operations review 2 or 3 years, since 2 or 3 years, and they are working in a very, very powerful way. For example, one of them that I was that I used for my AKC case, they were impacted by McKinsey because they received a really bad news. They received that they are going to transform into tribes, and they were really sad because they were working in Kanban many years, and they are going to roll back all of those things. But because operation review still happen, Kanban couldn't die. They recover all the Kanban implementations because of this operation review meeting, because they want to show that they are in a very healthy way. They are operations in a very healthy way, and it was sustained by a new manager that was involved in this Kanban implementation. And it was amazing because now they recover all Kanban things just because this feedback loop. The same happened in another company, but not in they protect themselves by showing the results of this operations review meeting. They show them that they improve the throughput by twice. They show the C-level, the top management. They show them that they improve twice the throughputs, the lead time by 60%. What else? The customer satisfaction, they are over 90%. And that was really, really happened in that company before Kanban. And so McKinsey couldn't make this tribe thing inside of the company. So operations review protects them for this disrupting initiative from a consultancy company like McKinsey. So that happened here. So now in November, there is going to be the Kanban Chile, the first Kanban Chile, and both companies are going to present a talk in that event. And I'm really, really proud about that. I help both companies. Both companies are not the only one that works in Kanban. There are more companies. So we're inviting LATAM Airlines, for example. One of them that is going to talk there is present here, Martin Ferreira. And what else can I talk about that? For me, it's a very, very happy moments to talk about all of those cases. And third, involve leaders. Without them, we will not be able to reach far. Yes, it's very important to convince them to start start an experiment, and when you start showing a good outcomes, they don't want to go back. And for me, that was really, really hard to do. I remember in oh, sorry, here there are something written in the chat box. You could say that all three are feedback loop variations. Yes, yes, we can make a feedback loop in a not in the exactly direction, just developing them exactly as they were written, probably in a guide or whatever. You need to put feedback loops in a way that can work. I discovered that because I create in my Kanban experience, I create some feedback loops. For example, I remember there was one feedback loop called aging review. Why? Because the aging was a really big problem in one value flow. So that was at the start. When they started doing that feedback loop, it was just twice per week because it was a really bad thing in that moment. But when they start improving, they say that, oh, we're going to have this meeting once per week. Okay. And when they improve and improve more, they say, okay, we're going to have once per month. So we can have feedback loops related to your real needs. And about there is a question. What is the plan B? Oh, sorry for include this plan B. The plan B, I don't recommend exactly plan B, but there is an option. A very important. It's very important to tell you that you can accept, for example, 100 items for customers because they say it is a must. You must work on those 100 items at the same time, and you can make many things. You can say, oh, I can't. Oh, you can. So okay, if you can, we're going to hire another guy. So if you have no option, you have one. The option is this. Okay, yes, I am going to work in these 100 items. You receive those 100 items. And what are you going to do? You are going to give your team only a few ones. You're going to improve your flow because you are protecting your team from being overloaded. Obviously, you're not going to have a good result related to 100 items, but you're going to deliver more. That happened. Juliano Ribeiro told to me about this Brazil starting scene. They started Kanban in Brazil doing this strategy. They started telling management, "Oh yes, we're going to work in all of those things that you are asking for." But at the end, they were limiting work in progress, and they started doing things better since that. This is going to be my last slide, Fernando, just because of time. Just because of time, and if they have questions, I can tell you that this is just a metaphor. I use this a lot. I tell people that when I explain Kanban Maturity Model, I tell them that I started with this metaphor. I tell them the first, second, third law, and then after that I start talking about Kanban Maturity Model, just because it is an easier way to understand the essence of Kanban Maturity Model. The Kanban Maturity is more than these 3 laws. It's more than these 6 laws, but it's just my metaphor way of explaining this. Because, for example, last week I was in an event in Peru, the Agile Day Peru, and one of the guys who didn't took already a Kanban Maturity Model training talked to me about maturity things, and I tell, oh, I talk about Kanban Maturity Model, and he says something like, oh, Kanban Maturity Model, I read about that, and it's really complex thing. And I tell them, no, it's really easier. I can explain you in 5 minutes if you have time. Then I start explaining him, you must protect your team from being overloaded. You must connect the end to end. And if you broke those laws, you're going to be fragile. And the third law is obviously requires more maturity, but please don't go too far at the start. Just focus on the first and second law. Okay. Who was accepting the 100 items? The manager. The manager accepts 100 items, and the probably I can say the service delivery manager accepts 100 items, but at the end he was he was pushed by the organization. Yes, and he just accept them because they have no option. But inside the team, he is not going to push these 100 items. He is going to give them just a few items. And when
So,
you wait
so
the
when you talk about this plan B, you refer
yes,
to team level leaders then. So the leaders
yes,
that you can't involve are higher level leaders. So if you cannot get to them, get to an agreement with team level leaders to just implement how much of those laws as they can within the context of the team. So that's a much more limited implementation.
yes. Thank you, Fernando, for this explanation. Yes,
Cool.
if we can talk, we can convince top managers, we can convince team leaders, or we can be the team leader who can do that, who can accept, okay, don't worry, managers, we're going to make all of these 100 items, but at the end, as a team manager, I am not going to do this. Take these 100 items and tell the team, sorry team, you must work in these 100 items together at the same time. It's not my fault. It's the manager, it's the top managers that are crazy. No. We don't need a leader like that. We need a leader that, okay, at last, he have no options to say no. Okay, I'm going to receive these 100 items, and he is going to give the team just a few of them in a pull system way of working. That is the plan B.
All right, cool. Well, thank you, Ivan, for the presentation. Do you have a final slide with just a summary of the three laws you've discussed?
Sorry?
Do you have another slide, a final slide with the three laws? Because I wanted to add a question about that, but I think it would be useful to have just a summary of the three laws on the screen.
A summary of the three laws.
Just a list of the three laws. You have one that, because you discussed three laws, you have a screen that has those three laws?
No, I haven't that slide, but I can.
It's all right. It's all right. So the question I was thinking about is what has been your experience bringing up these three laws to companies? So when you present them, what's the usual reaction? How do they react?
It was interesting. At the first time, I was trying to sell a Kanban Maturity Model as a fit for purpose tool. You are going to be fit for purpose for your customers and for your company. And usually, agile people react in this way. What? We are already fit for purpose. And that was really amazing to listen. That to me, that was really amazing, because that is not true. But I can say then you are wrong. I can say then that, okay? If I tell them, no, you are wrong, you are not fit for purpose, they start saying something like, yes, we are, and what else? Eh? So I discovered that when I started talking about these three laws, they starting listen me more than before. They tell me something like, "Oh, that's interesting. We're interested to be more robust. Can we help us?" That was the reaction of the market when I started talking about fragile. I stopped talking about we are going to be more fit for purpose. We're going to be fitter to the customer. No, I stopped doing that. I start talking about we are going to be more robust, because now we are really fragile, and they start listening to me. That was the reaction.
Cool. All right.
They hired me for consultancy service. That was amazing. That happened in 2020, because I started talking about this in 2020, and they start calling me because they saw some of my speech saved on the internet, and that was easier to me, because they can say we are not fragile. They can say that. I tell them, are you protecting people from being overloaded? And they say, they start seeing each other. You know. They can say no. Are you connecting your end-to-end value flow? Do you have Kanban board with the end-to-end value flow? And they say, we haven't. Okay, don't worry. We can improve. I can help you.
Right.
That's the way, Andre.
All right. So does anyone have any other questions for Ivan?
I'm curious. I mean, it's weird to ask about what you didn't say, but I'm curious about the other three laws, which obviously we're not going to get into now. But how did you figure out that this is enough? Not for this audience, but in general for your work.
Well, I usually don't talk about the fourth law, the fifth law, or the sixth law, because it requires too much maturity. And usually companies are just in the first level of maturity, and they don't need more really, because it's too much cognitive workload. It's too much. For example, if I'm going to make the experiment. The fourth law is at long term, you can't have all customers happy. If you tell that now to your company is going to say, what? That is not correct for us. Yes, and they have reason to say that, because they are not prepared for that. And the fifth law, sorry, it's a metaphor that is related to the level 5. It's a metaphor. It's not a gravity law really. I tell, it's a gravity law. I told that in that way just because I need that people listen to me. The fifth law is be paranoid. Compare yourself with an external reference. Be paranoid, and it's related to this thing. It's related to this thing, because I saw that I was working in a company that was it was the leader of the market, and they start fighting between each other inside the company. It was really really sad situation, really sad situation. But when a competition, when a company start working in our markets in the same market sector, they start being afraid. We stop being a monopoly, and they start seeing the competition, and they start working together since that. And that was the way of seeing an external thing. And the last law is don't be afraid to burn your ships. Don't be afraid of burning your ships. O sea, you can change your core business. You can change that just because you are in the top of maturity. You can change your business. But obviously, here is present here is Alexei, Fernando. Obviously, they can told me, they can give me feedback about this metaphor, because it's not perfect, And is this just a work to explain difficult things?
Yeah, metaphors are never perfect. That's part of the problem. But if they get you closer to the truth, then to understanding, that's close enough. I don't know how I feel about a model that only half of it is attainable by all the companies. But yeah, this was really interesting.
So the thing is, it's not that the model is not attainable, right? So it's that many companies are not there yet, right? So I think it's the reverse. I think potentially all the companies can get there if they put in the work, right? So Janice Linden Reed has the saying. She says, "Well, Kanban can help you a lot, but you need to be willing to put in the work, right? It will not just happen." So
Yeah.
now you
Yes,
can
it's
also ask the
because
question: does every company need to get to level 6? And probably the answer to that is no. But probably most companies would benefit from getting out of level 2, getting into level 3 or 4.
Yes.
Wow, thanks,
I think
Carlos.
Alexi had something to say.
Uh,
Or was it Richard? I heard somebody saying, starting to speak. I wasn't sure who was.
Yeah, I just I've been thinking about these laws, and I don't think I'm in favor of calling these laws,
Mhm.
even though even you mentioned Newton's laws at the beginning. I don't think they're in the same league, to be honest, because even in physics, there are differences between laws and principles, right? For example, gravity is a law, but relativity is a principle, right? And laws do not need explanations, but everything we talk about in Kanban, I think of them as principles rather, and they are really guiding our thoughts and actions. And I think there's a danger in calling these laws because they can be viewed as appeal to authority, because these are laws. You cannot doubt them. You cannot challenge them, right? Who are you?
It is a trick. It is a trick of language.
Sorry?
There are some words that I usually use as a trick. I am really tired to say something like, I suggest you, I think that you can follow this. So in my context, I was needing to start talking with a magical word as this. I know your point of view, and it's
No.
good.
Yeah. I know you didn't mean that, but then you mentioned the Newtonian laws at the beginning. That's why I had to say this. But the thing is, I know there are sort of pseudo laws, like internet laws, or like Murphy's law, for example. We use the word law all the time. I know to make our point. I understand that, but it's just that this is not a passing remark. You have 6 laws, and you mentioned that you call them laws because you didn't want people to react to them in relative terms, right? They are always right. They're absolutely right, and I'm not too sure about that part.
Well, guys, in all fairness, I think this is just this is a really thought-provoking perspective, as Alon wrote in the chat, and I agree with this. On one hand, I think what Ivan describes is actually closer to Newton's law than to Murphy's law, in the sense that basically like one of like let's say the third law or the common Kanban practice of whip controls, of limiting whip, right? Basically traces back to Little's law, which connects very much like the laws of physics, three quantities, which is the whip, the throughput, or arrival rate, and the time in process. Now, the thing is, there's a lot of course, mathematical assumptions involved in Little's law, and we have to keep the assumptions in order for it to be a mathematical equality, so the two sides of the equation being precisely equal. Now, in practice, though, we don't have to make them precisely equal, and that's not what matters really. What matters is that they cannot be off by an order of magnitude. They cannot be off by like multiple times, which basically makes whip a very important leading indicator. We have to keep whip under control, otherwise there is no predictable time, and time being a universal fitness criteria is going to basically frustrate customers if it's all over the place. And this is kind of similar to this, that basically if we are going to, like, there's like force equals mass times acceleration. If we're going to launch a certain amount of weight into the Earth orbit, we're going to need to give it a certain amount of acceleration. Well, that's going to take a certain amount of force. And that basically means we need a certain amount of rocket fuel burning at a certain rate. Otherwise, this amount of weight is not going to make it to, is not going to accelerate like this in order to make it to the Earth's orbit. It's as simple as that. And so it's sort of mathematically constrained, like it doesn't tell like, oh, okay, well, you cannot do this, but it constrains what's really possible in nature and in engineering if we're going to build a rocket. And the same, although this is not rocket science, right? Oh, okay, so you can borrow this line. This isn't a rocket science, all right? So if you have 10 items typically in process, and you are seeing a certain pattern of, let's say, lead time distribution, if you're going to dump 100 items into the same system, basically you can have no realistic expectation of attaining the same lead time distribution. It's gonna basically blow up and be all over the place, right? So I mean, in this sense, these are laws because they represent how systems behave in the real world and what quantities that described in those systems are in what relationship, which basically constrains if we move one of them and the second one is in place, then the third one is going to move as well.
Well, if you define the law that way, then I think there are many things that we can call laws in Kanban, in the Kanban literature, really. Okay? For sure, Little's law, I don't argue with that, right? But the things that I even mentioned here, to me, look a bit general, high level. Maybe that was why I was thinking. I don't know. To me, they sound more like principles anyway than laws.
Richard, I want to push you to not go back on what you said. I want you to stand behind what you said, and the reason is because I mean there is a difference between a law and a principle, but I think people, especially thinking people, react better when they understand what's behind. So the way you said it before, how laws are something you don't need to necessarily understand. You should just follow, and principles you need to understand. I think even if we stick with laws, I think we would do better if we understand, and also leaders would do better if they understand. So I actually, listening to you, I want to ask that we apply the same thing for either laws or principles, because it makes, I don't know, in my mind it makes more sense. I think it's a good reference though.
Yeah, I didn't mean to split the hair, but
No, it's cool. I think I mean it's less interesting if we're just handing down laws, right? It's more interesting if we can debate and interact with our customers and you know the people we coach and explain why things behave the way they do, even if there's no other way.
Yeah, folks, I think it's also important to note that Ivan works within a certain cultural context, and your context may be different. And so people may be actually like listening to the same words and interpreting them very differently. And I think one lesson we can take for sure from like what Ivan described and how he described it. And by the way, this also follows the principle of not simply copying others' practices, right? So you have to translate that into context, that you can do your own experiment, much like what Ivan has done over the years, into what sort of words resonate with different people in certain situations, in certain companies, industries, again, countries, cultural contexts, and how people respond to various things, right? So we could debate, of course, for the rest of the night, whether, let's say, Little's law is closer to Newton's laws or Murphy's law, right? Or Moore's law, for that matter. And the thing is, it won't get us closer to what you should actually do in practice, and what words to use when you advise your leaders.
Well, well, with what you talk about, Richard, Alexei, Alon, give me more elements to think about that, and it is really important to me to get this feedback. You know, I talk about this, and you know that because I told you it is a metaphor. It's not laws, really. It's a trick of language that I am using to persuade people in a deeply way, easier way, because they are fragile and they have no idea that they are.
yeah, again, as Alexei mentioned, some people may react differently, like me, for example. Right?
Probably in your
You want to keep that in mind.
Yes, if we talk about that in your context, probably they are going to say, "Oh, we are scientifics, we are scientists, we are." That is not correct, and it's not probably for your context, but in my context, it is. And at least I saw many books that say something like, "Oh, this is the 21 unrefutable laws of whatever," and many people say, "Oh, that is a law." That is really not a law. And here they usually follow those guys who talk about that. So it is a trick of language, and it's not so far from a real thing as you can feel really inside. It is not far of a real thing, and that is the power of this metaphor. Mm. So that's all.
All right.
Thanks a lot.
Right.
Really interesting.
Interestingly enough, Ivan and I were talking about something like this early, about the language and the way language triggers different reactions, right? You should have seen the original formulation of these laws when Ivan did his initial translation, was much more stronger.
Yes.
So So Ivan is from Peru. I'm from Argentina, right? So we were talking about how the perception of authority and the way authority is received in different cultural contexts is very different, especially in places like Latin America, right? So you, Richard, you earlier said that the law is like it's an appeal to authority, and that can be the case. But it's also the way people receive authority, right? So yes, you can make an appeal of authority, and in North America, an appeal of authority may feel really different than in South America. So that's where this whole thing is coming from.
Gotcha.
Can I say something real quick? Sorry, Ivan. I just want to say I really liked the way you broke down in a so simple way that maturity model. To be honest, I'm a little bit dyslexic myself, and when I see a bunch of text, I get scared or anxious, and the way you were able to explain at least half of the maturity model with your presentation or with your ideas, for me it's a lot easier to accept, even if we agree or don't agree about this, certain words, but just making it that much more accessible. So I definitely enjoy that, and I appreciate that.
All right.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot.
All right. We're getting close to the end. Any final thoughts from anyone? If not, the only thing that's left is thank Ivan for his presentation and the discussion that followed. As I said earlier, we are going to publish this video at some point in YouTube, so stay tuned. And there's going to be another meeting in November where I'm still working on the details, most likely about Jira and metrics. So stay tuned.
All right.
Cool. Thank you. Thanks,
All right.
everyone.
That
Nice
sounds
to see you,
exciting.
All right.
Alexei.
Good night.
See you in November. See you in November. Goodbye.